Alright everyone, it's 2010, so we might as well start to get this show on the road. Very quickly, you should all know me. I'm Jin'taan, member of the CSM. That's not really what the focus of this meeting is about. What we're actually going to be doing is primarily talking about various topics that affect streamers. The kind of core of this is a pair of questions that I have which come directly as a result of me talking to CCP in the past, and topics that I know CCP is kind of interested in learning some more about from the perspective of people who do a lot of work to stream the game and to kind of bring EVE's brand awareness to the greater public. And then beyond that, I want to try and talk to you guys and find out if there's any quality of life stuff that we can be talking about a bit more, or kind of anything along those realms, and just give you guys a clear place to kind of express what you think's good, what you think's bad about the streaming scene of EVE, and what potentially CCP could do to make it better, because that's a mutual interest between both the streamer and CCP for obvious reasons. Why don't we just quickly go down here and introduce everyone so that people can get used to everyone's voices. Antivirus, do you want to... you've got your mic muted, so I assume you're just going to type. Averin, do you want to introduce yourself? And you stream primarily what content? Cool. Killer, what do you stream? Gotcha. The normal stuff. Got it. Cook is good. Do you mind talking and trying to explain what you do in the game in terms of streaming? Nope, moving on. Manic. Miss Moses. Okay. Rain. All right. Raiden. All right, and finally, just to wrap it up, Rushlock. Alright, cool. So, as you guys can see, we've actually kind of got a nice spread in terms of what our streamers cover here, which I'm pretty happy about. I'm glad we don't just have like 50 solo PvP streamers, because as fun as solo PvP is, it's not the whole game. Sorry, Steve just pinged me. Pinged the ESI for ESI bit on Slack and interrupted me. Still, as some of you guys may have noticed, the official integration between Twitch and EVE has died kind of an unmourned death. It was a part of EVE for a long time. We had native Twitch integration that allowed you to directly stream from inside the client to Twitch. And it's something that was very rarely used by pretty much any streamer, really. So I'd like to ask you guys, why did Twitch integration fail in you guys' opinion? And more importantly, what could CCP do better if they wanted to do something like that again? Or if they wanted to provide some kind of tool in the client for streamers, what would you guys be looking for to make that useful for you? Okay, so it sounds like the kind of conservation of information is a big part of this, along with a lot of technical problems that it had. Um, can you guys think of ways in which you could improve the client, um, improve the client in terms of its streamability? Like, would there be anything that you could think of adding to it as an option or something, perhaps, that would make your streaming better or make your streaming life easier? I know we've talked about having some sort of streamer mode where system names aren't as easily findable before. What do you guys think about that? That's actually kind of interesting. So, because that sounds a lot more like a UX tweak as opposed to a new tool being added to the game, and that's something that I could, potentially see happening. What does everyone else think about that? You could have you could have something similar to a no MOTD checkbox, and that would probably solve that. Yeah, some of those suggestions do seem like things that theoretically might be within the realm of possible. Obviously, no promises, but I'm glad to see that you guys are keeping an eye out for realism here. That's appreciated. Does anyone have anything more to say about Twitch integration in general? I know we're probably going to talk about loot drops and similar stuff like that later on, because it's something that people seem to think would be a valuable addition to the streaming community. But we could talk about that here if people are interested in it.
Whatever it is, being accessible later, in-game market, it shouldn't matter beyond that point.
So can you just clarify? Are you saying about CCP giving giveaways out?
Okay. No,
The drop system. I definitely assumed people had seen it before. As an example, Warframe did a system where if you were you would link your Twitch and your, in this case, Warframe or EVE account together, and it would track I think a code drop sometimes, or like overlays would have an interaction. Different games have different interactions for it, but the point is you would get an in-game resource, whether it be it wouldn't be ISK, it could be a ship skin as a big,
a bit like
spitball idea. Exactly, Twitch loot mechanics. That's what loot drops are for between game and
right. So,
it would require
communication between Twitch and confused me then. I'm like, what?
Gotcha, no problem.
Yeah, I didn't really understand the question at the beginning, but now I do. So
yeah. Just a heads up, I might have messed up this recording a little bit because I don't think I selected quite the correct sound source at the right. So we're missing like the first 10 minutes of footage where we talked about Twitch integration and kind of why that failed. A lot of that's just down to technical stuff, as in it's just not as good as OBS. But we had a nice discussion about ways in which we could improve the game in general, but also for streamers specifically, through things like having greater UX modularity so that you can turn off or more easily hide hidden information like system location from your viewers without kind of damaging the playing experience. We also kind of talked about the idea of a quote-unquote streamer show client, but in general that was considered to be an unrealistic expectation on CCP.
Yeah, does anyone, I am probably, sorry, was that all for the recap? I just wanted to...
Yeah, that was all.
As far as the loot drop stuff is concerned, I'm probably the person, or at least in the category of person least likely to be interested in that. I don't know. It took me a while even to get Nightbot, just because I'm not really into the chat mini games and stuff like that. And I don't really do giveaways and things like this. I'm kind of like a very boring streamer. But as that kind of person, I can say that I don't have any issue or any concern. I think it's kind of only a benefit, right? Unless, does anyone have any concerns with a system like that?
Just for reference, this is regarding integrating loot drops with Twitch.
From where I'm standing, it only drives engagement, right? And it drives engagement from Eve to Twitch and from Twitch to Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how it could be negative. I don't know how it could hurt. I think the only way is if there's some way to game it, so you make multiple Twitch accounts to link to multiple alpha accounts, and then you farm whatever drop it is, skins, fireworks, whatever.
Nobody would ever.
Classic.
I was going to say
We're
the
Eve players.
this is the Eve clause. Like, always make sure that if someone can create 1,000 accounts on either service and it helps them, then you have to watch out for that because it'll happen.
I think exclusivity is the only thing to watch out for. Like, if again, I use a shipskin as just as a template example, but if it were for some reason not, obtainable and then putable on the player market, that's the only time I think you'd see a valid concern by an angry space nerd.
I think if you're like thinking about rewards, I think it probably something more general, like an accelerator. If there was like a class of accelerator that never expired but was still just like your standard 48 hours to 24 hours, something like that could be, it's some value and it helps you out as an Eve player, but it's not like a skin for a ship you don't need, and you don't have to worry about like how rare is the skin and does the value of this drop change over time.
Yeah, personally, I could 100% see something like the daily alpha injectors being on there as a higher option. I don't quite know how the loot tables work with Twitch. I'm definitely not an expert streamer, as I've no doubt made you aware. Alright, well, it's good to hear that there's a lot of thought about that. The second question I had for you guys was simply, what problems do you, or at least a large percentage of new streamers, kind of run into that you think can be solved? What are the barriers to entry for streaming Eve that could theoretically be lowered?
I think a problem. I think part of it is probably psychological, because Eve is not. I would say most people would probably agree that Eve is not a very interesting game to watch. It's very slow, and most of the time you're waiting for something to happen, or you're going out, you're roaming around looking for a fight. So I think maybe better communication with newer streamers. I think that's, well, what am I trying to say?
You're saying that better promotion of streamers, especially new streamers, is probably going to be the more important part of it. Or pointing.
What League of Legends does, what Blizzard does, is they incorporate streamers into the launcher of their game.
Okay.
like
That's
the current
something
launcher.
that...
Oh, go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
So that's something that helps a lot of the... Well, I mean, obviously you can't really compare League of Legends or like Blizzard game streamers with Eve streamers, but generally it's something that a lot of the mid-tier League of Legends streamers helps them out a lot when they get featured in a launcher. They don't feature the big streamers, like they don't feature I'm a Cutie Pie or whatever, because he already has like a very established base, but they feature the medium to small tier of streamers in the launchers, and they get like their all-time peak viewer numbers when they get featured in the launcher. So it actually helps them out a lot because they get a lot of like coverage, exposure and stuff, which I think is something that CCP could probably implement pretty easily.
Regarding current tech, the current launcher has a Twitch button on it when the official channels goes live. I've always felt like if that button instead was there permanently and led to the Twitch directory as a whole instead of just one channel specifically, it would get more traction for the current player base to potential viewer base.
So here's my issue with that. I think it's the wrong approach to have Eve streamers stream on the CCP channel to increase like their exposure. I think they should do it on their own channels. I know they can like stream on their own channels at the same time. I was told that, but it seems very inefficient to do it that way. I think why not just incorporate the stream in the launcher of the individual people? It's not that hard to keep track of the amount of Eve streamers, especially it's not that many.
Do you mean having it go to a directory or to individual streamers? Because that would be hard to curate, I would think.
I think you can. I don't know. I think that like you can do multiple things as part of like a holistic approach. Allow them to stream on the CCP channel if they'd like to, or embed their link in the launcher when you can for their channel, etc. I think both things can be helpful.
Do you guys know how many people do stream?
No, but it's definitely less than League of Legends.
Well, yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's a lot less than League of Legends, but it's a fair few.
Yeah. I'm not. Obviously we can't compare like Riot's resources with like CCP's resources. But what I'm saying is, if Riot manages to like incorporate streamers and feature them, I don't know if there's some sort of algorithm that does it for Riot. I would assume it's probably an algorithm that does it. So there's like no, it's not like a person choosing, okay, today we're featuring the streamers, because obviously that would be biased and all that shit. But yeah, I mean, that's just a thought, I guess. I don't know if there's like enough dev time for that, but it's something they could think on.
No, it's definitely a good suggestion. Even if it's not something TCP can do right now, it's something interesting to keep in mind for the future.
It is something Streamfleet and CCP are working with at the minute. We're looking at promoting smaller streamers. We do have things coming up soon, like the website and maybe a Streamfleet channel that will promote smaller streamers, give them a helping hand in getting started, that sort of thing. So there is work in progress with that.
Yeah, this kind of conversation is progressing fairly quickly because we've talked a lot about these problems previously. I know I've talked directly with a lot of you guys as a result of putting up this meeting in the first place. So what I'm going to do now is effectively just leave the floor open to you guys. If it gets a bit noisy, I'll pick out voices and we'll order up again. But kind of just talk about what you think CCP could potentially do to help you guys, or stuff along those lines. What problems do you have with Eve that are small things that specifically affect you because you're a streamer, or affect you a disproportionate amount because you're a streamer?
Can I just have one thing that I think probably only applies to me, so I'll just say it real quick and then you guys can. For me, like my dream feature that I think is like somewhat realistic but is not as easy as like me just saying, hey, can you guys, little things this next patch would be if there was a way to set more overview colors than the current like limit on +10, +5, neutral, -5, -10. Obvious, if you've watched my stream for obvious reasons, if there's like more parties than that on a single grid, you only have so many colors to assign, and then it's like start having to put people the same color and it becomes a little less easy. So if there was some way for me to have like more colors to display or ways to tag different groups as different colors, that would be fantastic for me.
So that's kind of again, a bit of a UI thing.
Yeah, it would just be, if there was a way to maybe integrate the like contact groups with the overview like color tag displays and allow you to have contact groups tag or show as a certain color, even if they made some like static, let's say like 4 or 5 overview contact groups that you can't delete or rename or whatever, and they're tied intrinsically into the overview, and then let you tag those as 4 additional colors in addition to your like good, excellent, those normal standings. That would be something that would be really useful for me, but I don't think for a lot of people.
I would think that wouldn't be too difficult for CCP, since like watch list changes now, you can have so many colors. I would think it'd be something like that, but I don't know.
There's never a more dangerous question than a dangerous suggestion than should probably be easy, but it's
just write the code.
Just fix all the bugs.
That's why my main point is just like, this is the end outcome would be if there was a way for me to, set more than 5 colors essentially. However they can make that happen, it would be convenient if it was like through some contact groups, but if there's some other way, that would be fine too. But and I don't think it's not a huge deal, but it's like the one thing that bugs me pretty consistently.
It does seem like a realistic aim or goal or desired quality of life update.
Can I get a quick?
We've learned this week specifically, chat is hard.
Yeah, can I get a general, like, I guess show of hands is a bad way to put it, but a general feeling if this would be useful for anyone else, or if this is just an Avaran specific change? Is there anyone else here who would use those context color features?
I could probably use it for when I do my nullsec exploration. There are names that I come across on a regular basis, but I have the memory of a goldfish, so I forget them the next day. I'm not going to make the clicks to make a note on them, so if I could quick reference my local and be like, okay, this color means different levels of threat to myself, maybe, for my own interactions.
I personally could see it being useful in, say, a 4-way tournament or something like that.
I'd use it for the stuff that I do too.
Okay. Well, the floor's still open. Give me your CCP pleasers. Give me your quality of life problems. Let's go. Let's keep this going.
I'll do one last little thing. But please, no more crashery now.
No more what?
My client crashes during
Oh
the
yeah,
big fights.
that was awful for you during 9-4. That was a big yikes.
Everyone, I don't know. It seems like the Eve client has been pretty crashy since the fighters. Since
I mean, you don't have to be polite, man. The Eve client is a piece of.
Well,
piece of
no.
trash.
I just mean because before the meta of the big fights was infinite supers and carriers with fighters, I was fine. I didn't crash very much. I think but after that point now, like the other night when the dreads dropped, everyone was fine. But as soon as the GOTG and NC supers came in and launched fighters, I think half the system crashed.
Yeah, that's.
But no,
Yeah,
that's not
guess
really a
it's not really
streamer
stream
thing.
related.
Yeah. Streaming big fights in general is something that I know CCP is very interested in. They, obviously, as you're well aware, Everett, it gets a lot of views. Is there anything in particular that you think would allow you to produce better content in those kind of situations where something is kicking off? Other than the aforementioned crashing and UI issues, is there anything else that
Nothing that I think that nothing that I'd want or ask for. If I had an invulnerable Polaris frigate, sure, that would make things easier for me. But I think, I don't know, part of what I do is the fact that I'm a player in the game and I'm not I'm not ISD, I'm not third party. Even though I do, generally stream from sort of a pragmatic viewpoint with as little narrative as I can, but I think part of my persona is that I'm a specific Eve player in a specific alliance. People know who I am, and when I'm on field, I'm in a ship I bought from other players, and I can be killed if things go wrong. So
would a monitor not help with that?
No, the monitor's probably terrible for that sort of thing.
The monitor would be not good.
It doesn't have interdiction nullification, so it's kind of bad, and it can't cloak and warp. So something I'm interested in is, would you guys be open to kind of sharing your intel with CCP? Would you be willing to say, hey, I'm I've heard of fights going down here. This is rough. Not even this is what's going on, but just there's a fight that's going to happen here. I'm going to go and take a look at it. If you had a way of communicating that to CCP, and CCP were able to bring ISD to the scene, would you guys be okay with that?
We did that for leading up to World War B. I know I was in an ISD channel, and there was one fight that I was prepping for, and CCP Carker messaged me, and obviously you can't decline a CCP message. So, but yeah, I mean, some of that stuff's really straightforward. And if there's a secure line of communication to CCP for that, so obviously, Avaran being with Pandemic Horde's not going to announce it amongst everyone else, where you have people like Boat or other alliances or corps that could try to use that intel against him. But yeah, if there's trust with ISD and CCP and a direct communication there, without kind of, I don't know, having a way of that kind of being used against you, I don't see why not. But
so there's some sort of one-way tip line for fights. You guys, might use that. Okay, that's cool.
I don't know. You'd have to. You're gonna encounter a lot of being alliance leadership. I can tell you, you're gonna encounter a lot of people who they're not gonna trust anyone. It doesn't matter if they're ISD. It doesn't matter if they're literally CCP.
Well, thankfully, CCP does have the option of making all reporting anonymous, which could somewhat alleviate that.
Oh, I'm not. I think you're misunderstanding a little bit. I'm not saying like Horde member X reports to CCP, and then someone at CCP leaks that Horde member did a thing, but more so that people are concerned that they'll tell CCP something, and it will get leaked to people like who can benefit from that knowledge.
Yeah, I can understand that fear.
I personally think that's stupid, but I'm just saying, like, as someone who has tried to get intel, like people are really, really concerned, even if they know and trust you as an individual, or even if you have nothing to do with anything. Like people are just very reticent to share that kind of stuff.
And I know as a streamer sometimes, like I think Zarvox Crass, myself, probably you get this a lot of Aaron, when you're like attempting to stream a fight or you're attempting to find out where it's going to go down. A lot of times it's not leadership, like alliance leadership, that tells you. It's usually somebody in a fleet saying, "Hey, I heard we have a Titan tackled here. You should come."
Oh
here.
yeah, it's always line members. Like basically everyone who ever tells me about stuff, it's either a line member or I hear some sort of thing and I ask someone that I trust in that group.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's the kind of stuff that I'd like. I'd hope maybe could be facilitated if a tip line or something similar was set up. I'm just more interested in how we can properly, say, promote like big fight streams, because big fight streams are already one of the bigger draws. If we can have CCP make that better, I think that would be a good addition to the streaming community, but obviously that's a personal opinion. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I'm going to say that I agree. That it's
obviously, yeah. But... Okay, that's cool. Any further suggestions?
I'm on a fight right now, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would talk more. But yeah, also if seeing at the same time.
Yeah, I declined to join said fight.
I think as a suggestion, this goes back to what Ewan was talking about, things that you would like CCP to do that would help you all as streamers. From my point of view, it's more about helping themselves with a product. So whether it was launcher or in-game, either way, going back to the whole idea of having them have that Twitch logo that lands on the directory for the game. And usually this is not so much a CCP thing, but I think companies sometimes lack awareness of how powerful and how valuable their current user base, player base can be, leading to promotion of their product. Let's say I have 100 viewers and 80 of them are current players, just answering questions in chat, doing whatever. There's an extra 20 set of eyes or new users or potential new users. Maybe they're checking out the game for the first time. And the overall Twitch meta and how it works, the more of your current already acquired user base that are lurking, chatting, whatever their interaction point is, doesn't matter. Is just pushing your product on the platform overall. So visibility, I guess, is a big thing. This is to be made more strides towards getting more visibility for their own product on the platform itself. I think that would be a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely in favor of CCP doing more with Twitch streaming to try and get it to basically just advertise the game better. You don't have to sell me on that, and I don't think you have to sell CCP on that. Really, you just gotta find the right suggestion, I think, is the problem.
I would like to see that launcher button change. I don't know if that's the only way to do it, but I think it's a more direct, more simplistic approach.
I was thinking like expanding that button, like in the launcher there are those little news items, those little square boxes, that are advertising the latest skin or the latest skill extractor sale or whatever. If one of those could be made into a little Twitch embed of somebody who's either streaming EVE on the CCP channel or on their own channel. Even embedding streams into the launcher would definitely catch people's eye.
I've always been under the impression that those things are static. Are they dynamic? Are they like, can their content be different? Like I always thought that somebody like inputted the content and then left it up for a week at a time or whatever until the next update. From
what I understand, the launcher is effectively just a website, so you should be able to do anything you can do with a website in it.
Right.
Gotcha.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if yeah, I mean, the browser back shortcut works on it. Like, I'm not sure if an embed would necessarily be the best way to do it, just because like that's additional resources that are being used. But certainly, I think like I feel that there's space on the launcher for a permanent Twitch presence of some kind, whether it's randomly selecting a streamer and just putting a text saying this person is live and this is the title of their stream and click here to go to it, or whether it's to go to the Twitch directory. I don't think any of that is too difficult. I mean, I have like my friend coded a thing that pulls my Twitch title and pings it to Discord in about 2 minutes, so I can't imagine it's too difficult to pull that info into the launcher.
Something I just thought of in terms of underutilized advertisement is specifically like I know they do player spotlights. What do you guys think about a streamer spotlight set of features where someone one of the ISD goes and tries to watch someone's stream and write a review of it that's 1,000 words long or something like that, and put that up on the CCP site? Would that help?
Yeah, they did something like that with Valkyrie. Like soon after the Valkyrie launch, there were a ton of player spotlights in the Valkyrie community, and I thought that was really cool. And I know they did stuff like that for Eve players like back in the day, but I haven't seen anything like that fairly recently.
There was actually one very recently, which was on Lasker Emanuel, the solo Dread pilot dude, who I'm very familiar with.
Oh, that guy! I love that guy!
He's pretty great. He's going to be at FanFest, by the way, Rain.
Yeah, I met him last year. He's like one of my favorite people to solo PvP against.
Literally the chillest dude ever. But yeah. Okay, that's cool. I'll keep that in mind then. That was just something that popped into my head. Hey, roll up. Give me your CCP pleases.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the complaints, I guess, not even complaints, but just kind of gripes about streaming Eve that I hear from other streamers. It's like I said, it's mostly a psychological problem. People don't want to be stream sniped. That's not something that CCP should really be managing. I think a lot of the gripes that I hear are just things that are inherent to how the game is played. I don't know how they can be addressed, but yeah, I think most of the problems that people have with streaming Eve are mostly psychological, maybe not necessarily having to do with the game itself.
Yeah, I'll get pretty consistent questions about people in my chat will ask, like, how do you avoid doing this? How do you avoid getting ganked? How does this happen? I agree with Manic. It's not really a CCP issue as much as it is a player/broadcaster needing to understand how things work. In my opinion, in my experience, you have to understand the psychology of the person doing it is just seeking attention, and they want a certain reaction out of you. So if you take out your shiny bling ship and then get popped, I mean, what did you think was going to happen? It could be a lack of awareness, but I mean that's just that they're doing it because you gave out a nice shiny carrot on a stick, and they're going to chase the carrot. And I can do the exact same activity at the exact same time of day in the exact same location, day in, day out. Rarely ever have an interaction. And I've had a few people just completely baffled by that. It's because they don't understand the thought process behind, like, first, I'm not there in anything I actually care about, so it isn't going to change anything on that side.
That's a big thing why headshotting or like stream sniping only works in every game, by the way. This is like general like is like general Twitch advice kind of thing. Stream sniping only works if people like talk about it and get upset, because that's what the stream snipers want. Like they're looking for the reaction of the streamer. That's why they do it. I mean, I know I did it. Like literally every single fleet Bjorn B formed before like I started streaming myself, and even now still I go and fight. And before I started streaming and I like started developing some sympathy towards streamers in EVE, I just headshot him every single time just because I thought it was fun to like ruin his fleet. And a lot of other people have that attitude as well. And it's just important that, so especially in EVE where it's like a sandbox game, right? I don't think CCP should intervene in any of it at all. Like it's just I think it's something that the streamers need to figure out themselves and how to like, you know, develop some sort of immunity to it by just not giving a shit, or, you know, having, you know, I don't know, trying to avoid it. Like Zarvox and Bjorn are doing it pretty carefully with his you know, OPSEC map and shit like that. MW.
And I was gonna say, like, if you want to take it beyond just streamers too, so I know, like, I remember Gommel talking about it, and he said something along the line of, well, when he goes on a fleet, he has, yeah, Bjorn B or Killer B FCing. But so like Gommel says, when he goes on a fleet, he's not at the FC, but he's just a member, and he talks about how the FC or other members will complain about, oh, you're streaming, therefore you're giving intel. Well, the case is in a lot of situations in EVE, a stream, even with no delay, it's still 15 seconds long just from the game to Twitch to a viewer. And it's long enough to where the intel is not as fresh as getting a spy into an alliance. And everyone knows how easy it is to get a spy into an alliance, or get a spy to do on like a in PSI thing to do this or that. Yeah, Barrett. But like, it's one of those things, like if I wanted to go fight goons, I wouldn't watch a DBRB stream or a Gommel stream. I would go get a spy in goons, fly on the fleet, and then feed that intel to whatever fleet or person I'm using to snipe or do, you know, fight against. And a lot of people don't realize that, and it's extremely frustrating as a streamer because, like Killaby said, he can have like a no, like, who gives a fuck attitude. But then if all of his fleet members think that they're dying purely because he's streaming, then it's like frustrating for him.
Yeah, something I would like to suggest potentially here is maybe making a kind of survival guide to streaming EVE. That might be something that the streaming community can do without forcing CCP to get involved in terms of this. In terms of like just making it so that they have less low tier targets by, you know, kind of taking these new streamers aside and saying, you know, here's how you do it, here's how you avoid the very basic stream ganks, here's how you kind of look after your intel, all that sort of stuff.
I think the most important thing is for people who stream to understand the game of EVE and how it's different from what makes EVE EVE is the fact that, you know, everyone plays in the same server and the locations are static. So like, people need to understand that stream sniping in EVE is not the same as stream sniping in most games. You know, you don't have to like try to get in the same server and then you ruin just the one round or whatever. It's a single persistent shard, so, you know, streaming is only going to give someone the initial information, you know, like, from my case, the majority of the times I've ever watched any streams for any kind of intel, it's simply to say like, oh, where do I need to send a scout? Or is whatever is happening important enough for me to get a spy to log on or whatever? I think if the streamer fully understands the situation, it's easier for them to deal with either members of their fleet or people in chat, or even to accept the fact that, you know, when whatever happens, happens.
I think Rain brings up a good point too about sometimes it comes down to players' perspective who are maybe less aware of Twitch. I know in the past couple of years I've jammed a lot of new bros into Pravi and just thrown them straight into Null, or maybe even people who have come back to the game and gone to Null for the first time, and it was just eye-opening for them. They're like, man, I'm making so much ISK, I'm going on these fleets, I'm having fun. But at the end of the day, I'm in Pravi because it was accessible. I think Raiden had a similar situation or interaction at some point. Whereas I would be more than happy to go to other regions, and for my content being PvE focused, I have no science, I have no data on different rat faction types outside of Sancho and Angel. Not from lack of willingness, but just from lack of access, because sometimes those either in leadership or in middle tier positions through no fault of their own, just are ignorant of or oblivious to how Twitch works. And the example Rain gave, they just kind of knee jerk to like, oh God, someone's streaming Intel, like we're fucked, we're getting screwed in this situation. And in reality, if you wanted that Intel, you would just put a spy in there. You're not going to go to a stream to get the Intel.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously also something that's very EVE unique in terms of streaming with the whole Intel problem. And generally, like, I got a lot of shit for starting to stream from like a lot of people because they were like, oh, are you going to stream off leads? Are you going to give away the Intel and stuff like that? And it's, it's very unfortunate, but there's nothing you can really do about that. At the end of the day, you're just going to have to find a way to work around it, which is why, streamers like Bjorn B, he tries to stay 100% neutral. Because it's also a problem that like goons just straight up won't watch me, or some goons straight up won't watch me because I'm me and I'm an NC dot and we'll be and all that yada yada. It's also something that is kind of unique to EVE, where they're like these factions and stuff that people care about a lot.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that CCP needs to do about it. Just
it can't do anything about it. I think
that's the thing, is you have to overcome a lot of sometimes willful, sometimes just indirect obliviousness or ignorance of how the system works.
I think the biggest issue with streaming EVE and generally EVE streaming is a lot of people are just not watching EVE streams because they don't think they're entertaining, which I can see to some extent. Like, there's like a lot of like solo PvP streamers out there. Some of them make it very entertaining because they fly weird ships or they just have a very fun attitude. But generally, EVE is probably one of the less, engaging stream games to watch, in my opinion. But it's I think the best CCP could do to support us would be to just get us, to just get streamers out there, just support us as much as can with exposure, not trying to like incorporate it into their own channel. Everybody, because I really don't like that. Like, I was approached by CCP or like by Raiden, right? Who does it? Was you right that approached me about it?
Yeah,
right?
I said I was putting it forward for you.
Yeah, so basically they approached me like, okay, so do you want to stream on a CCP channel? And I'm like wondering, okay, what's the deal with that? Because do I really want it? Because at the end of the day, I can maybe like keep spamming my Twitch link on the while I'm streaming in the CCP channel, but at the end of the day, I want the people to come to my channel and to click like the follow button on my channel, right? That sounds like really selfish, but that's just what streaming is like. You have to get the follows onto your channel, you have to get the subs and all that shit onto your channel to make it as a streamer, and it's questionable if people will go from a CCP channel to your channel.
So I think that you're getting into what do you find as making it as a streamer, because like for me, I never want partner, and that's because I have issues with Twitch more than anything else. But I mean, I know I consistently get follows, but I haven't streamed for like 2-3 months on my own channel, except like once. And so I still get follows, and I think part of that's from CCP, but it all depends how you want to make it. So if you're wanting the subs and the follows, then yeah, it makes sense to keep all your content on your channel. But if you just want to explore, get out there, do something new, like CCP reaches a lot more people than just personal channels because of the fact that they have so many followers.
That's a really good point for the what Kill mentioned about, like, for me, it's the exposure. I started off on the CCP channel. Both Frank and I were doing 2-hour blocks pretty much every week. My issue wasn't so much that it was difficult to get the traffic to transition to my own channel. My difficulty came up with the lack of exposure for CCP's own channel. So if they weren't going to promote their own product, it made it even harder to then have it trickle down to even getting back to my own channel. And a lot of that just came down to, not, and on the flip side of that, Guard has been extremely accessible through this initiative of CCP working with broadcasters. Like, if I have any concerns or any questions or anything like that, I can send a message to Guard and I'll hear back for sure. But at the end of the day, he's one guy. Guard is not CCP. He works there obviously, but it's not the same thing. Guard can be very, very aware of Twitch and the value and the potential for it. But the interactions and conversations I've had so far have definitely led me to believe that there's, whether it's time and resources or whatever the barrier is, there's some kind of barrier preventing there being more exposure driven to the platform as a whole.
There is, especially with Falcon as well, it is sometimes difficult to get hold of them. but they are working hard up there, and they are starting to realise what streamers bring for their game. So this is why the work's coming now. This is why we're getting more from CCP as streamers, and the support is there. And I think they've just added CCP hashtag as well.
I think there's a. I'm sorry.
And I always forget the lead community guy's name. Is it Grendel? Someone help me with that.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Grendel.
So the team is significantly smaller than it was, but we are still getting help from them massively. Like FanFest is showing with the support they're giving to Streamfleet going out there. The fact they've picked streamers to host it, they realise what streamers are doing now, and they're trying to help us as much as humanly possible, which is really, really good.
But I think that's the limitation, though. Like they can't afford, like, there's less people there now. They can't afford having somebody having that hat on the desk, 24/7. So a lot of the stuff has to be either automated or find more realistic ways of having that exposure. Who even took over Manifest's duties? I have no idea.
That's CCP Grendel.
Gotcha.
I think with regards to the CCP channel, I think there's a spectrum that people need to be mindful of. Because a lot of us here, like, there are people who get between 5 and 10 viewers on their channels. So when they stream on CCP's channel and they get 40, 50, even 100, if they convert even just a small number of those new viewers into follows on their channel, that's huge for them. I feel I'm probably at the point now that when I stream on the CCP channel, it's more to, like, I don't know, it might be a little self-centered sounding, but I feel more inclined to do it to remind my viewers that the CCP channel exists and they should follow it, so that when other less discovered streamers stream on that channel, they have a chance to see those people. I mean, obviously, it does help me as well, but I think it's a completely different story for someone who's either just getting started or at least just doesn't have a decent, consistent viewer base yet.
I would agree that's pretty accurate.
And I also do agree that I don't think that CCP has been extremely. I think the 07 show was great to push their channel, but I think after that, it seems like it's kind of like there's an opportunity there too. If nothing else, if they do want the CCP channel to be kind of like the nexus of EVE streamers who are sort of guest streaming on it every once in a while, to at least promote their channel more than they're currently doing.
That's my limitation, is what you described. Was initially it was great for being on the platform, and then I was finding myself, relatively because on the same time block, I was seeing the same faces, and I'm like the exact thing you described, is you were getting your own community to be aware of the CCP channel, and if that's not a negative by any means, it's just a strange byproduct that I didn't expect to be larger than the exposure they were putting on their own.
So if they were promoting the CCP channel more, would that entice you to play on it more, or to still stream on it? Because I can see how it's really good for the new guys, like you say. If you're getting 100 viewers and used to 10, it's a massive boost for them that they get new followers, and they see every time someone streams, they always pick up new followers. Maybe not subscriptions, like Killer was referencing. But do you think if they promoted it a lot more themselves, that would entice you more?
I can only answer for myself and say yes, because the opposite happening is why I don't stream on there.
Okay.
The way I did before is just scheduling. Like I understand I'm on probably the narrower end of the spectrum for doing this full time in the first place, but it came down to like, wow, I'm giving up really productive hours for something they don't have. It's not that they don't have the confidence in their own product; it's that they don't have the bandwidth to support their own product on that platform. So,
okay,
I just had to find a better use of that time. But if they were supporting it, if they were a greater effort made to promote their own platform, then absolutely that'd be a good incentive.
So maybe you think they went about the CCP channel the wrong way once they stopped the 07 show. They should have gone for the newer streams to try and promote them, or are we looking at you want more from CCP on there? Like I know, was it Bunny Virus was doing his ship modeling and stuff like that, wasn't it? Is that more a sort of thing you want, or would it be like the in-dev stuff or the 07 show back?
I'm not familiar enough with the 07 platform to know. Like I remember it existed. I don't remember what like the format was. I usually remember Guard and somebody else would usually host or Mimic. I think
it was effectively a talk show with some pre-recorded segments mixed in, generally talking about the upcoming changes to Eve.
Gotcha. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean that's a huge amount of internal bandwidth for them. It sounds like a very small thing, but I'm thinking more like they just don't even social media promote their own channel often enough, if ever. I mean, they do obviously, but I mean not frequently by any means.
Yeah, 07 was a pretty decent chunk of resources to put on. I hope it's going to come back, or I hope they do something similar. They always talked about distributing the 07 show and making it less of a one thing. But unfortunately, community team, only so much you can do. All right. So, is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about in terms of quality of life or little things for streaming that would make your lives better, or things that, if possible, just talk about problems? Like, even if you don't have a solution, just talking about things that you find annoying can be very useful for CCP. So I would encourage you to kind of speak up about them, even if they do seem incredibly minor.
This is super petty and like really obnoxious, but my least favorite thing is how if I stream, people know who I am, so they either bring me a really good fight or they'll blob me, or I'm always primaried first and fleet. So they're like, oh, it's rain, let's just shoot rain. And it like makes me so salty, even though I know why they do it, because I totally would do it too.
Hi. Welcome to the life of being anyone with a name in Eve.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's so frustrating though.
Anyone else? All right, I will take that ominous silence as a no.
Well, I mean, mine is they killed my game. Well, not much I can do about that, really.
sad times, unfortunately. Yeah.
Not much I can do. They killed the damn thing.
Yeah. Well, this has been a pretty productive little session. I wish I'd brought more questions along. I kind of assumed you guys were gonna have a ton of every problem under the sun, but it seems like streaming is doing okay, and that's good to hear.
Like I said, I think the biggest problems are just a lot of new streamers or a lot of people who are new to Eve. They may not understand how Eve operates and how that translates to streaming. So a lot of it is just the problems more they lie more on the streamer than the game itself.
Yeah, for sure. I think the idea of a stream, like a survival guide to Eve streaming, might be something worth looking into.
Yeah, I love that idea, actually.
Also might be worth specifying between new streamer doesn't always mean new player, but often it does. And Eve for a new user can be challenging in its own right. And then you put it on broadcast, and then you see how extra challenging it can be for a lot of the stories people already shared here today. But
yeah, I will note that this means new in the context of Eve, which is different to new in the context of almost every other game, in that we consider 1-year-old players to be new. Generally.
Actually, Jin, something unrelated, but something that would be good if CCP wants to know how new players play the game, to watch them when they stream it, because then they will know how really confusing it is, even though they've done a lot with the new player experience.
They did that kind of testing actually when they were designing the new tutorial. Like, they literally hired people to just play through the tutorial and play the game.
Nice.
But yeah, that I think people recording their first attempts at the tutorial is always quite fun. I've always found that very interesting. All right, well, if there's nothing further to say, then we can wrap this up here and let you guys get on with your very important fight that I can see you guys are all very interested in. As always,
Good job.
yeah, no, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to me. If you do think of anything in the future, just little problems are perfect. Like, small little issues are the kind of thing that I can really hope to try and fix in general in Eve. So I love it when I get, the little quality of life stuff that I can forward to Karka, and maybe she gets it done this week, that kind of stuff. So don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you think of anything. And if you guys think that another one of these roundtables in like 6 to 12 months would be useful, I'd be happy to set one up. Just let me know.
Cool.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming.